Well, away from all the Christmas lights, here at the Gherkin is Simon and Rose from the pressure group Save Our Savers. Good to have you with us. So, we've seen that further drawing down of our savings. Tempting to think this is about us wanting to rush out there and splurge on the high street. But is this more to do with the fact that, frankly, there's nothing to keep us with banks or other institutions?
What we've seen, actually, is a decrease in long-term savings, in money that's put away on notice accounts.
Yep.
In fact, short-term accounts have actually seen an increase in savings. So in the last 12 months, that's gone up by 48 billion. So I think it's people both feel that there is no point in putting their money into a long-term account when rates are so appalling, but also that they want to have the freedom to do what they went with. And of course, in theory, interest rates are going to go up again at some time soon. So why would you put your money into a long-term account if tying it up for 3, 4, 5 years, you find that rates have gone up in the interim?
So this isn't the fact that we've lost the urge to save, and frankly, we are still putting money away, even in short-term accounts, you know, interest rates are very unattractive. I mean, real interest rates are negative, aren't they?
This is financial repression.
Yeah.
Interest rates are so low. The hope always was that savers would go out and spend. The problem is, for many people, savings is all they've got to live off. So if you've retired and your savings are giving you no money, the last thing you're going to do is go and rush out and splurge. You need to husband your resources completely. That's certainly what our members appear to be doing. So, yeah, rates are absolutely terrible. The real problem is they don't seem to, I think, have appreciated what's happening. There is this income effect, which has been worked out in the States, but not here. There, they believe that low interest rates are actually costing 2.5% of GDP every year. Now, we've never seen a corresponding figure for the UK, but essentially you're taking income away from people who might otherwise be going out and spending it.
So you say we've never seen an equivalent figure in the UK, so you're saying successive governments then have neglected the importance
Yes,
of
they seem to believe
economy.
that pushing asset prices up is a wonderful thing, but they never consider the effect upon income. So we've seen pension funds under pressure because of QE and lower interest rates. We've seen savers under pressure. And we all know that the real income for wage earners is at a 10-year low because inflation is so much higher than wage rises. Well, imagine how much worse that is if you're actually a retired saver who no longer has any wages coming in. Well, so a lot of people are feeling incredibly poor entirely because of Bank of England and government policies. So they're not going to rush out and save. Now, there is a sign recently that people are getting into debt again in order to go out shopping. But we haven't corrected the problems that we had when we got into the crisis. So if this is going to happen and people are going to get into debt again, well, how long is it going to be before it's all going to go wrong again?
Well, and when it goes wrong again, of course, that means even more low interest rates if it's a case that we are in that vulnerable situation,
I mean,
surely.
Yes, and it's terribly short-sighted. I mean, Mr. Cameron, back in 2009, said that increasing debt and undermining savings was economically stupid and morally indefensible. And yet that is exactly what they've done. And the real problem, of course, is that savings provide the capital that provides the investment that can actually enable the country to grow. So, yes, you might get a short-term fillip by getting people to go out and spend, but if they're stretched anyway, how long is that going to last?
And do you think there's a lack of emphasis by the government? I mean, obviously, when it comes to interest rates, there's nothing much the government can do about that. The taxation treatment of savings in particular, do you think governments need to look at that again in terms of incentives and in terms of rewards?
At Save Our Savers, we would love them to look at it again. The problem is whenever we talk to them about it, they say, well, it's too expensive, even though Cameron and Osborne actually promised basic income tax relief for savers when they got into government. It didn't happen, of course, because it costs money. But they said, well, why would you actually tax again money that's already been taxed when it was earned? Well, we would agree entirely. The problem is I don't think they want to encourage savings because they are now so heavily in debt. McKinsey came out with a report last week that showed that the loss to households from lower income from savings rates was 120 billion more than they'd gained through interest rates being low on things like mortgages. So it's actually, you know, these low rates are hurting the British public.
So you've got this transfer to borrowers, essentially, and the whole economy suffering as a result, is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. But more and more economists are beginning to see that. We've been saying this for several years, but by and large that's not the Keynesian view of things. But I think our message is being heard rather more and more. But how the government gets out of the mess it's in, I'm afraid I really don't know.
I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there before we can come up with any ideas about that. It's good to have you here with us, so thank you.